Hey guys, it's Akhtar Khan, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to close a lease option from start to finish, from A to Z. I'm going to break it down in steps so you can go step by step, use my script and my formula so you can go and close deals. So stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome back. So I want to teach you in this video how to do a lease option, how to actually negotiate it and propose it step by step. So this is my negotiation process. This is what I've used personally to close over 200 deals. And I actually taught this to some mentees of mine yesterday that are closing quite an exciting deal. That's a creative contract. It's a £500,000 deal. So hopefully I'll have a video for that pretty soon to give you the results of what they have managed to achieve and how that deal went. So for you guys right now, you might want to get a pen and paper and take some notes as we go forwards with this, because I'm going to break down the steps and the things that you need to do so that you can close a lease option deal, okay? So look, this applies. The first rule is create what's called a yes set. So what is a yes set? Well, look, this is an NLP and a hypnosis technique. It's called a yes set, which means you ask people a series of questions, normally about 3 questions with a high probability of them answering with a yes. So I'm going to give you some examples of where this is used. So if ever you go to a good sale, like a seminar or like someone talking from stage, one of the things they'll do is they'll say, the last question is to get you to say yes. Hey, look, do you want to learn something tonight? Yes, put your hand up. Do you want to make more money? Yes. If you've been around the property circuit, you've probably seen this kind of stuff at the networking events, okay? So one of the things that we're doing here in this process is to start to condition the audience, if it's on a stage, or the vendor, to start saying yes, okay? So you want to ask them questions like, so look, we're having a conversation here right now because, you want to sell your house. Am I right? Yes, okay? And you know that I'm here just to have a chat with you, and if I can make you an offer, I will. But if I can't, I will point you in the right direction. Is that okay? Yes. So you want to ask them things like, is that okay? Does that make sense? Have I understood this correctly? Questions that have got a high probability of yes, okay? And I want you to understand this is a high level process that we're going to go through, but you need to do this all the way throughout the process that I'm going to be teaching you in this video, okay? So the first thing is going to be yes sets and asking questions with high probabilities of yes, and you just tag on the back of something. Does that make sense? Yes. Do you understand? Yes. Have I understood you correctly? Yes. That's all you want them to do. You want to go, yes, yes. You want them to be saying yes, yes, yes throughout the process, okay? So that's the first step. The second step is you need to have rapport, okay? So what do I mean by rapport? Okay, look, there's lots of different definitions of rapport, but my definition of rapport is having what's called a climate of trust and understanding between 2 or more people, okay? So rapport really happens. It's a natural phenomenon. It's a natural psychological phenomenon that happens when there is a climate of trust between people. So if ever you go out or you go to like a restaurant or a bar, or, you see people at tables, you get to have an idea and an understanding of the closeness of their relationship. So if you saw, a couple, a man and woman, you just get an idea or a feel how close they were because of their body language, okay? And the more rapport people have, the more trust they have with each other, they behave in certain ways, okay? So how do we create rapport? Well, we do what's familiar, okay? We find things that are familiar hooks. So if I go out to a vendor, I'll be looking for common ground, okay? So if I go and see a vendor, I'll ask them where they're from, what they do, and I'll go, oh, okay, you're from London. I was born in London. Which part of London are you from? And they'll say, I'm from this London. And you go, oh, yeah, okay. I was born near there and I went to school here, if it was close. If not, you say something like, hey, yeah, I've got family members that live there, or, I went to the football match that was in the stadium around the corner, or I went to a fireworks display at this place. Anything that's common ground, because you're trying to find familiarity, you're finding common ground, because people like people that are like them. So, we want to build rapport. And now there's a lot of sales techniques out there and lots of sales books that say you must have rapport, must have rapport. Rapport is the absolute bare minimum. I would invite you to go a next step beyond that, and that's to actually have a genuine bonding connection with someone, because that's what takes it from just being a bit business-like and salesy, and you're there to do a deal with them, to actually becoming their friend. And this is one of the things that I teach, and I always stress this, right? Whenever I'm teaching anything like this, okay, always come from a place of integrity. And my philosophy is leave people in a better place than where you found them. So when you're going to go out and meet people, make friends with them, like genuine friends. If you can create that genuine connection with them, and you're good at connecting with people, create a genuine connection, a genuine relationship where they can feel that trust with you. And obviously you're going to be a trustworthy person, so you can do what's best for them as well as for you. Okay. So rapport is fundamentally important. Rapport is a minimum. You want to go to the next step, which is creating a real nice bond with people. So what kind of things create rapport? In my scenario, it's where you're from. Sometimes it's my background. Sometimes it's your work. Other times it can be family. I've got children. I'm passionate about my kids. So if I see they've got kids or grandkids, we'll talk about kids. All this stuff is looking for common ground. That's what we're looking for, and that just creates that climate of trust and understanding and that rapport. So how do you know you got rapport with someone? You just feel that kind of click and that connection, and it's all relaxed. Okay, they will start to feel like you're on side. They'll start to feel like you're their friend, and also for you as a bit of feedback. If you start to feel pally with them, or you start to feel like they're treating you like a friend, they invite you in, you have a couple with them, you sit and have a good chat. You chat like old friends. That's when you know you've got good rapport. So you want to be aiming to have good rapport. If people do not have that climate of trust and understanding with you, they'll just not do business. You can have the best proposal, the best deal. You can offer them £1,000,000. If they don't trust you, they're not going to do business with you. Okay. It comes back to that fundamental principle of know, like, and trust. Okay. It's important that we have rapport as a minimum so people trust you. And without this, the next things that I'm going to teach you aren't going to work. So I'm giving you this all in the right order, okay? So rapport at minimum, but you want to go beyond that and have a bond and genuine connection with people if you can, okay? So that's the second step. The third thing that you need to do is you need to frame the meeting or frame the call that you're having with this particular vendor. So what do I mean by framing? Well, framing is almost like, if you think of a picture frame, it's putting a frame around it or putting an outcome or a boundary around it, okay? And there's a fundamental reason for this. If you turn up and they start asking all the questions, okay, you're not in control of the conversation, okay? You need to be in control of this process. You need to be guiding the questions and guiding the vendor on this journey that I'm going to be teaching you. And if they go off piste or they go off track, you need to bring them back on track, okay? Because it's important that you get them to go through this process so that they can make a decision to sell to you, okay? So it's fundamentally important that you frame the conversation. So what does that look like? Well, you say something like this. You say, look, hi, John. Listen, great to meet you. Thanks for inviting me around here. Look, let me just be clear what the purpose of me being around here is, okay? I've come around just to find out a little bit about what you've got going on, what your current situation is, what your challenges and your problems are, with two outcomes, okay? If I can come up with a solution that works for you, I might make you an offer, okay? I may make you an offer, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to buy your house today, okay? And if I can't, I'm going to point you in the right direction. Is that okay? Remember, yes, sir, okay? Now, what we're doing here is we're not coming across as like, hey, I'm desperate to buy your house. We're coming out there from a friendly point of view. Let's have a chat. Let's get to know each other. This is not a high pressure sales call. This is just me and you having a chat as a couple of people over a coffee or whatever. And we're going to find out what you've got going on. If we can help you, we will. But if we can't, we'll point you in the right direction, followed by yes, sir. This is very, very disarming because people don't like to be sold to. People don't like pressure. And again, if you've built rapport properly with people and they feel like you're their friend, then it's going to disarm them. They're going to be able to listen to what you're saying, and you're going to be able to at least propose an offer to them without their resistance coming up or their BS filters coming up. So this is fundamentally important that you do this, okay? So the next thing you need to do is this, right? You need to uncover their pain points. And I would spend a good 20 minutes asking people, so look, what's your biggest challenge right now? What's the problem that you're experiencing? What are you struggling with, okay? And you need to do this like from a place of genuine care and concern, right? You got to care, I care about people, right? So you got to come across like you really care about this situation and that you genuinely want to help them. So you need to listen and understand. And this has to be very conversational. It can't be scripted. It can't be robotic. You got to be sitting there like you're having a chat with your friend or your family member, and you're concerned for them and you want to help them out. That's how you need to feel, because that's what you're going to convey in how you communicate, right? Remember, when it comes to communication, I think it's something like 55% of its body language, 38% of its tone, 35 or 38% is tone of voice, and the rest, I think 7%, is the words that you use. So people will just pick up your vibe. So you really need to come across from a caring point of view that you really care about these people, that you care about their challenge, and you're there to genuinely help them if you can, okay? So you want to ask them what their pain points are. What is the challenge that they're having? The next thing that you want to be doing is looking at what their sub pain points are. So let me just give you an example and an illustration of this, okay? I've gone to vendors so many times that have been facing repossession or they've got debt problems, okay? So the surface level, the big problem they've got, the big kind of pain point they've got is they need to sell their house. right? The sub pain point is the reason why is because they've either got debt or repossession. Now, what you want to be doing is going deeper than this, okay? You want to look at what their sub pain points are, what the pain points underneath that are. So, for example, and I see this a lot of the time, is they need to sell their house, they've got debt, they've got repossession. They're now having arguments with their spouse because they know they need to leave the property. They know they need to sell. The spouse might be attached to the property because they restored it or they refurbished it or their kids grew up there, and there's a lot of sentimental and emotional value to it. So that's the next sub pain point that they've got. Beneath that, they'll have another sub pain point, which is, hey, look, we've got to relocate. We've got to move to our kids to a new school, and that's unsettling the kids because they don't want to leave their friends behind, and so forth and so forth. Okay, or we've got to relocate to another area that's cheaper, and we don't know anyone there, and that's causing them stress. Okay, so your job, right, as a good negotiator, as a good salesperson, as a good problem solver, is to really deeply understand. Okay, look, guys, the stuff I'm sharing with you is gold. I haven't shared this outside my mastermind before. Okay, the reason you need to do this is because people need to feel understood, right? When an estate agent turns up, right, what are they focusing on? They're focusing on the property and selling it, okay? Do they focus on the relationship? Do they focus on the pain points? Do they focus on understanding the person's situation? No, they don't, okay? So when you go there, you're going to be a breath of fresh air because you truly understand them and you understand their pain point. So when I go out to vendors that have been, going through the repossession stuff, right, or going through debt, I will understand what they're going through because I've dealt with hundreds of people before that have gone through this. And I go, look, I understand where you're at. It's a scary thing to go through repossession. The whole thought of going to court is intimidating. You've got the embarrassment of your neighbors. You might have, conflict with your spouse. Your spouse is upset and they're blaming you and you're causing you to have arguments. Your kids might be upset. You might be like the bad guy in the house right now because you're the head of the family and all this stuff has happened. Look, I completely understand how you feel, okay? So you want to empathize with them. You also want to let them know whatever their situation is, it's not their fault, okay? Let them off the hook. It's not your fault. These things happen, okay? Because no one likes to be judged. No one wants to feel blamed or like it's their fault. Let them off the hook, empathize with them and understand them, okay? So that's what you want to do, okay? And then you want to kind of keep this to about 15 minutes or so you really understand where they're at, okay? Then the next thing you need to do is you need to sum up their challenges, okay? So look, if I've understood you correctly, this is your challenge, okay? You need to sell your house. You've got, as I've given you the example of repossession, you've got problems with your wife, your kids don't want to relocate, you've got the stress of it, and you've got all these other problems, okay? What we're actually doing here is reminding them of the pain. Okay. If you don't remind people of the pain, they're not going to take action because most people, when they're in that situation, want to bury their head in the sand. So you're reminding people of their pain and you're summing up everything. Okay. In the case of a lease option, you might be saying, okay, so look, I understand your problem. The challenges you're in, you haven't got much equity. You need to relocate. You don't want to be a landlord. The thought of being a landlord and trying to manage this property from another town is just causing you a load of stress. You just want the property gone. And you just want to be rid of the stress. Have I understood you correctly? Yes. What we're doing is just, again, remind them of the pain points, creating another yes set question so they can say yes. And we're making sure that they're motivated, okay? So that's what you're going to do. Now, the next thing you're going to do is a really interesting process called future pacing. Okay, again, this is an NLP and hypnosis technique. What does this do? This helps them to imagine a scenario in the future, okay? So we've just done a summary of what their pain points are, the summary of the challenges that they've got. We're now going to paint a picture of what the future could be like for them, okay? So look, this is what we're going to say. We're going to say something like this. We go, look, so if I could if I could sort out the sale of your house so that you can move on, so that you haven't got the stress and hassle and arguments with your wife, so that your kids are going to be happy, and all this stuff is put behind you and you've got a clean slate, would that be something that you're interested in and you would want to act on today? Okay. Or in the case of in the case of a lease option, you might say, look, I appreciate you've got negative equity. You feel like you can't sell the property. You feel stuck. You've got this problem, that problem, that problem. If I could take this property off your hands today and deal with this all for you, is this something that you would be happy to take action on so that you can move forward in your life? And you need to paint a picture of what it's going to be like, so that you can, whatever it is they want to do. And again, you'd be finding this out when you're having that kind of rapport building exercise and finding out what their challenges are. People normally tell you what the problem is. Hey, I want to move forwards. I want to relocate. I want to, go somewhere else or whatever. Okay. So that's what you need to be doing. Once you future pace them, okay, and you've painted a picture, Here's what you're going to do. You're going to give them your best advice. So you say, look, I could do a deal with you, but I want to help you. Okay. Can I give you my best advice? Okay. If I was in your situation, here's what I would do. So in the case of someone who might be a potential lease option, you say, you know what, your best deal is to rent this out. Why don't you rent this out? Tidy the property up, refurb it, do whatever you need to do. Why don't you do that and rent it out? That's going to be your best bet, okay? Because long term, prices go up and, you'll make money out of it. Why don't you do that? Even if you know they don't want to do it, you would still give them, here's my best advice to you, okay? Like you would do to a friend or a family member, just give them their best advice, okay? Even though you know that you don't want to do it. Why do you do this, okay? Well, number one, I always want to give people the best advice so they have an option to go, well, yeah, I'll take that advice. Okay. And I've done this with lots of vendors before where I've given them, look, here's your best advice. And I've given them advice on what to do to fix the property or sort the problem out. Some people have gone off and done it, right? Now, I may have lost a deal in that scenario, but what I've actually gained is a raving fan. And they've gone on to refer other people to me and gone, Akhtar's a great guy. Go speak to him. Now, I've had people call me up and go, look, Akhtar, you gave so-and-so some advice. Would you be willing to give me some advice? Some of those things just turn out to be helping people. Some of those turn out into deals, okay? The other thing that you want to do is you don't want to get further down the process where they change their mind and go, actually, I'm going to do this anyway. So you want to exhaust their exit strategies. Okay. And I'm going to come on to that in a minute. Okay. So what you're doing here, right, is giving them your best advice. Okay. The next thing that you want to do is if they say, I don't want to do that, you show them what the options are. What have they tried already that hasn't worked? So look, you could put this on with an estate agent, but this is the challenge you might have now. You could go and sell this through an auction. This is what you could have right now. You could go and sell this to a fast house sell company, but this is the challenge you're going to have. They're going to give you 75% of market value. Okay. Now that's what you're going to explain to them. You're going to explain what their options are, but you're going to exhaust them. You're going to limit them. So you know that, hey, this is option A, but they can't do it. This is option B, they can't do it. This is option C, they can't do it. Okay. Then what you're going to do is tell them about the market conditions. What is going on in the market right now? Now, at the time of shooting this video, we've got this whole pandemic. We were in lockdown 2.0. And it's difficult for first-time buyers, and it's a challenging time for buy-to-let investors because of all the changes that are going on. People are uncertain about the market and prices, and lending's become a little bit tricky in places. So you explain that stuff to them verbally, but you illustrate it to them too. So what you might do is you might say to them, look, here's a mortgage illustration for a first-time buyer. We went online, we went on a mortgage calculator with this big main high street bank. This is what a first-time buyer would have to put down in terms of deposit, and this is what their payments would be, which is quite tricky. And first-time buyers right now, with everything that's going on, the uncertainty, they're getting mortgage offers and things pulled. Next thing you do is look, here's a buy-to-let investor. This is how much deposit they have to put down. The deal stacks up or it doesn't stack up. It doesn't work from a numbers point of view. That's the challenge that you're going to have, because in their mind, they're going to be thinking, well, why don't I sell to a first-time buyer? You've now eliminated that option, okay? You've kind of got that exit strategy out of the way. How do I sell to a buy-to-let investor? Well, okay, this is the challenges that a buy-to-let investor would have, okay? Some students of mine, some mentees of mine, I literally just coached them on this process yesterday. They went to a vendor and they took spreadsheets with them so that they've got accurate costings of what it would cost for a first-time buyer and for a buy-to-let investor. It was expensive and it didn't work out so well. It just wasn't an attractive deal for either a first-time buyer or a buy-to-let investor, but it was a great deal for them, okay? So that's what you would do, okay? And now what you've done at this point is you've exhausted all the exit strategies, okay? And they're like, okay, well, what can we do now? So at this point here, you go, look, I do have a unique solution that I may be able to offer you, okay? And then you'll say to them three things, okay? I could take this property off you and buy it from you, and you say whatever the price is. So let's say they've got a property that's up for 200,000. They're getting offers at 150, 180. You can go, look, I can buy it for you for 200,000, okay? But I'm going to need to buy it off of you in 5 years or 7 years time, okay? And the reason for that is because we need time for the market to recover because of all the previous things I've told you, the previous things I've mentioned about the current market conditions and all the challenges that there are, okay? And then what you say, the third thing that you say to them is, look, okay, I can cover the mortgage and cover all the costs so you can walk away from this and you don't have the headache and hassle, okay? And then all you say to them is this, you say, look, this is called a test close, right? You say to them, how does that sound to you? If I could give you, the 200,000, if I did it for you within a 7-year period and I took care of all the costs, you don't have to pay a penny, how does that sound for you? So what is a test close, okay? A test close is like you're kind of testing to see if they're interested in the deal without asking for the deal. So they'll say, yeah, okay, that sounds interesting. They might come back to you and ask you, some questions. How does it work? What happens? Is it legal? Like, what am I going to have to pay for? What if you don't buy it? All these kind of questions. So there's two things that I would do here. The first thing I would do is I'd answer all those questions as best you can, but I always send people to my lawyer because my lawyer deals with. I have two lawyers that I use. I use one lawyer that deals with the seller, and the vendor, and the other deals with me. And it's really important that when you do these lease options, you get proper representation for both sides. So what I'd say to them is, look, go speak to a solicitor. This is a solicitor I can introduce you to. He can act for you. He will verify what I've just told you. Okay. So this is what you need to do in order for you to take someone from A to Z when it comes to structuring or negotiating a lease option deal. You've got to take them through that process. And by the way, guys, this process that I've taught you here, it doesn't just work for lease options. You can do this for any creative contract. So some students of mine right now, they are currently working on a deal that's worth 500K to them. They're going to use the same process to get vendor finance and propose a vendor finance deal, which means they get no mortgage. They don't have to get a mortgage. The vendor finances the deal and they pay the vendor like a monthly installment. But guys, look, I've used this process. I've had to learn this the hard way. I used to go out and say to people, "Hey, let's do a lease option," and they'd go, "What on earth are you talking about?" If you confuse them, you lose them. So it's really important the language that you use here. When you go out and negotiate these deals, don't even mention a lease option. Okay, people won't understand what it is. They'll get confused, or they'll go online and they might find some bad press about it. Just say what I've told you to say. Hey, I can offer you this price. I can give it to you in this time. And in the meantime, I can cover all the costs and mortgages. How does that sound to you? Okay. Look, guys, that's how you close a lease option from start to finish. I hope you found this video really, really useful. Please like, subscribe, and put comments down below. If you've got any questions, please ask me. And also spread the love. Share this with someone else who might benefit from it. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Okay. So look forward to seeing you then. Take care. Bye for now.